From NPR. Layoffs accelerated. Federal agencies with more cuts to come. Oh boy, it's not just the IRS. They're coming for everything. The Pentagon and the Department of Housing and Urban Development are gearing up for budget cuts and staff reductions while layoffs hit employees. At the Department of Agriculture, the CDC, the Environmental Protection Agency, multiple sources told NPR. But wait, Forbes says as 200,000 recent hires could be affected by these layoffs. My understanding was that Trump basically said anybody on probation is fired, right? Oh, they're saying 2,000 probationary employees at the Department of Energy are going to be fired. Yeah, okay, so
Does that mean recent hires?
Yeah. Okay. So they're in a probationary period. Trump, this is clever. Trump's basically saying, who can we fire? And they're like, well, there's no protections for probationary employees. Yeah. How many are there? 200,000? Axe them all. Trump is going to... This is is this the first time Republicans actually made the government smaller?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the first time in my lifetime, you know.
Didn't Calvin Coolidge?
Silent Cal.
I mean,
wow.
Feels just like yesterday.
He's my favorite president.
We're going back to the good old 1921. Ugh. 1923. Mm-hmm. Ah, yes, old Calvin Coolidge.
Silent
Cal. More people don't talk about it. That's probably why.
That's why he's called Silent Cal. He was a fairly innocuous president. He did things like allowed the country to kind of do its own thing, and he didn't have the opinion.
He let women vote.
The federal government didn't need to be involved in everyone's life all the time. So,
well, I don't know how you reconcile that with him having women vote.
Well, I mean, I don't think that was actually. It was an amendment. He doesn't have any authority. Oh, okay. There you go. Anyways,
so he had strong support for women's suffrage.
Did he?
Old Silent Cal. Yep. Yeah. So they say.
I do imagine that there's at least a contingent on the left that even if you're not necessarily politically inclined, I imagine there's a lot of women who hear about 200,000 people losing their job and they just don't like the idea of people losing their job, not realizing that is your money that's paying for it, or at least not really connecting that those things go hand in hand.
There's the idea, and as an abstraction of shrinking the government, most people are like, yeah, I dig it. I like the idea. The idea of making cuts to the government as an abstraction, yes, I like the idea. As soon as you give someone one anecdote of someone hurt because their job was cut when you made those cuts, all bets are off. Whether they actually want to have cuts to the government or not, totally, they have, oh, well, wait a minute, blah, 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 blah. That's why cutting the government is so hard. There's not only are there anecdotes that you're going to hear of people that were hurt, because it is going to hurt people's lives. Like an honest estimation of cuts in the government means that people are going to have significant changes in their lives because they're going to have to change their jobs and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel bad because some of these hardworking people in McLean, Virginia, are gonna have to give up their third summer home.
Who was the guy that you had on your show when we were still on Timcast, LFR?
LFR family.
He made a post a couple weeks ago, and he said, somebody explained this to me. I get it that the government is spending excessively, but why does my daughter have to lose her grant money that she earned? That's right. And, I sat and thought about it. And I went and did what I do, and I made a meme, and it was a good meme. And I went and I found an old school diagram of someone applying a really bad tourniquet. The one that's like a T-shirt and a stick,
Oh, I remember this.
What Trump is doing is, like you were talking about earlier, ripping the Band-Aid off and treating the wound. I said to the guy, it's like you complaining about your toe going numb when your femoral artery is bleeding out. Trump is stopping the bleed right now. And so eventually we might be able to keep that leg. She may still be able to get her grant money out of merit, right? That's the point of all of this.
And not just that, but you can only imagine what happens if you don't. We haven't gotten to that point yet. But if we do and we default on whatever money or taxes or anything that we bring in, then what happens? Mm-hmm. We've never been at that point yet, and I think
that's because the Federal Reserve keeps printing.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Man, the system is so. I got to be honest. I don't even think the government knows how money operates in this country.
Most people in the government, I imagine, don't.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. The average person, again, is still under the impression that you get taxed to pay for things for the government. The tax money that you pay, the reason you have to pay the taxes is so that way the government can do things. It's just not how it works. The government prints the money whenever they want to do something. If they appropriate, they write a bill that needs funding for it, and the funding is a part of the bill. They're going to authorize the Treasury to print up that money so that way they can do whatever it is that they want to do. That's the way our system works now, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, there are people that have different opinions on that. But the idea that you need taxation in order to pay for things, no. Taxation is there's two reasons they tax. One is so that way there's less money in the system, so that way to manage inflation, and they use two different means to manage inflation. One is taxation, one is the interest rate, and that's all it is.
And if you look at what's going on,
real quick, it's because they spent your money already.
Yes.
They spend your money through the creation of money, through creating debt on paper, or through just literally signing away debt, and then they're like, we got to pull more money out because we spent too much.
Another thing about this is if you look at the amount of people that are getting laid off, it's kind of like we were talking about before the show about Elon Musk. It might have been Phil when we were on PCC earlier. Like Elon Musk goes in and he buys Twitter and he fires like almost everybody, but it's not like the app stopped working for people. And for most of us, we understand that despite all of these layoffs, it's not going to prevent the government from working at the rate that it's working at now, because it already doesn't work efficiently anyways.
Yeah.
But weaponized empathy is a very, very strong motivator when it comes to leftist politics. So as far as articles to be written and stories to be told that are going to go along way and kind of humanizing a lot of these people to people on the left, it will work because they're not going to want to see a bunch of people out of job, even if in your pragmatic mind you know that something like this eventually has to happen because something has to give if we want to fix things.
Well, look on the bright side, all of the deportees that are no longer here, there's jobs.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, these people that have been sitting around doing nothing, they now get to learn how to go do a real job, maybe.
Well, this is the thing. When Democrats were complaining that if we deport, they came out. It was that Kelly Osbourne. She was on The View. I think it was The View, right? When she said, who's going to clean your toilet? And they were all like, oh, whoa. It's like, no. Don't get mad. It's the former IRS agent.
Yes.
That's it. See, that's why we need this producer so we can make these films. I got a great idea. It's we're hanging out and I look at Phil and I'm like, man, we got some cleaners in here. And then we go on Google, we type in cleaners and it's like former IRS cleaning service, and a bunch of IRS agents come and start mopping my floor.
Well, no, it's not that. That was in 2016. Now the joke is who will pick the crops. Because of the deportees. So it will have to
be so funny. A commercial for a farm where it's a bunch of FBI agents picking crops.
We picked your pockets, and now we pick your crops.
Ooh, there you go. Solid.
It's a commercial for the IRS Farm Workers Association.
I like the idea of we picked your pockets. Now you're going to pick the crops. That's a great line. It'll
learn to farm.
Learn to farm. It would be solid in a little 30-second bit or whatever. Look, I mean, the idea that the average government employee is there for your benefit, they're not. They don't think of your benefit. There are a handful that might think they're doing something altruistic. Most of them think, this is important because I'm important, not because what I'm doing is important. And they're just looking to pay their bills. They're looking to make sure their kids can get to college. They're looking to be able, get as much as they can for themselves as, and in the time that they're allotted. And then they want to have a pension. And that's what the government offers, really. It offers what they consider a secure job with a good pension and the ability to go up through the ranks, the whole GS, whatever it's called, the structure and stuff. You can get raises, you can get promotions and stuff if you just put your head down, do the job. It's just a job. They're not. The only time they talk about how they're public servants is when they're trying to defend their job. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with, wanting all those things because we've all been sold that. That's the American dream. do better than your parents did. And my kids do better than I am, right? And none of us want these people to not have that opportunity. But let's just be honest about the state of this government and the kind of people they've been hiring in the last decade is how many of them are actually having families and forwarding society.
Well,
so they're not really doing the American dream, even though it's their own dream, right?
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.